You're listening to the Backroom Beer League podcast with your hosts, Jacob, Nigel, and Greg. Bringing you your fantasy sports content recorded from the back room. To stay up to date, follow us at BRBL Podcast on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, and rate the podcast to show us your support. Now, here's Jacob, Nigel, and Greg to talk fantasy sports.
It is Monday, January 27th at 8:30 p.m. at the time of recording. This is episode 2 of the BRBL podcast. First, just to start off, I think we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about the biggest piece of sports news this week. And that is obviously Kobe Bryant's tragic death. I know we posted a story on our social media platforms this week, just kind of to honor him. But yeah, what do you guys think about it? I mean, obviously, Kobe was a huge part of basketball, and you know, there's almost a void now that can't really be filled by Kobe. It's weird to think about a world without Kobe Bryant in it, I guess is what I'm saying. It's
nuts. Like, to think the guy didn't even make 50.
Yeah.
And I'm a big, harper on, making sure guys, if they're going to get into the Hall of Fame, get to see, their Hall of Fame ceremony. And I'm more than happy that though Kobe isn't around anymore and it's horrible, they're at least bouncing it so he's with this year's class. Because we all knew he was going to make it. Yeah. So the fact that they're not making, it sit around till he's eligible at this point. It's just a respect move.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kobe Bryant is someone that is not only one of the greatest basketball players of all time, it's not only one of the greatest scorers, just all-out competitor, but Kobe was an icon in the sense that Kobe was someone that kids wanted to grow up to be. He's on the level of Michael. He's on the level of LeBron. He did so much for the game that I can't even seem to really put into words, because at the end of the day, he wasn't just a basketball player. His mindset and the Mamba mentality that he brought to everything that he did. I mean, the guy's an Academy Award winner. Everything that he did, he brought.
That's crazy.
He brought this persona and this attitude and just this overall atmosphere around him that's built in this Mamba mentality that every athlete, every person should strive to have.
Well,
yeah.
I think Kobe Bryant is one of the most multifaceted NBA players to ever live.
It's not even close.
It's not even close. You know, you have someone that cares so much about things other than basketball. Mm-hmm. I mean, obviously he's a great basketball player. He's one of the pillars of the basketball community. He was, a no doubt Hall of Famer. And obviously he's going to be there now in light of recent events. But he's, video surfaced after we got news of the plane or the helicopter crash of him directing traffic.
Yeah,
from a car accident in the middle of Los Angeles. I mean, that's crazy. You never think of stars to go out and do these kind of good deeds in public and not really expect anything from them, and he did that all the time.
The thing with Kobe is that he impacted so many people. I mean, obviously I can't say from a personal standpoint of him knowing him personally, obviously, but what people say about him, who he was as a man, as a father, as a husband, and everything that he stood for, it's just such a shame to see Kobe, let alone anyone, go at the age of 41. And I just wanted to add also prayers for his daughter.
Yes.
Prayers for the 7 other passengers passed away on that plane.
Yes. A baseball coach, a minor league baseball coach.
For 25 years
25,
or something like that?
It's something like that. And he coached Aaron Judge. It's hard to see people that happen to be there in these accidents along with more famous people like Kobe Bryant that just don't get mentioned because Kobe Bryant's legacy has just taken a skyrocketing in news, and people that focus on Kobe and how tragic of a loss it is to lose such a great person involved in basketball. But we also have to remember all the people that were involved that weren't Kobe Bryant and his daughter.
In terms of Kobe, he was someone that revolutionized the game of basketball. He was the piece that transferred from Michael Jordan to LeBron James. Yep. He was the guy, the face of basketball. Not even the NBA, just basketball. There was a story on a Knicks broadcast last night that Mike Breen is his name.
Yes.
Yeah, the play announcer. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he was telling the story about when he was in Beijing for the 2008 Summer Olympics, which Kobe is, and I will not. There's no argument. He is the greatest Team USA basketball player to ever live. Him and Melo together. But there was a conversation that Breen had with a cab driver in Beijing, who the guy spoke very little English, and when talking to Breen about what he does with basketball, and he was going over to talk to Team USA and all that, he went, "Oh, Kobe Bryant." Kobe was the face of it. He was the face of this game that so many people love. He was the idol to so many kids.
He was an ambassador for the sport.
Yeah, and the guy just started crying.
Yeah,
because it meant so much to him to not to speak to Kobe Bryant, but to speak to someone who knew Kobe Bryant, someone who had talked to Kobe Bryant. His impact on the game, it's going to be forever missed, but it will not. It'll live forever.
Yeah, Mike Breen said in that same story that he didn't even feel like broadcasting.
Yeah.
Like the day it happened, he didn't even feel like it
No
broadcasting. And who would feel like?
No one could.
Well,
Kyrie sat out of his game.
It wasn't even just the NBA. Like moments like this bring the sports world in general together. Like at the Pro Bowl when they made their announcement's not the right, but when they let everyone know that Kobe had died, the entire stadium in Orlando granted out to chanting Kobe. After sacks, the NFC defensive players were doing celebrations for Kobe. Devontae Adams, Neymar, I think it was Neymar.
I saw a video of Neymar putting up the 2-4.
Yeah, it brought the entire community together. They had to issue warnings to not gather around Staples Center because of the Grammys last night.
Yeah.
Granted, that probably didn't go well. They've built a memorial there now. It's just moments like these when you have legends taken, and it's not due to old age, and it's way too soon. Then you have other cases like players taken, like Tyler Skaggs and Sean Taylor, and it's just moments like these that you sit there and you say that death is a cruel being, if you believe in death being a being with no formal plan, no matter what kind of a person you are. So look at those around you, cherish the time with them, because you never know when it's going to end.
Live every day to the fullest.
Yeah, it's life is fragile, and I think there's no better example of how fragile it really is until you look at something like this happening. 24 hours before, Kobe was congratulating LeBron on his achievements and his contribution to the game of basketball, and passing him as one of the all-time scorers in the NBA, third in all-time scoring. And then, the next day, it just happens like that. But, I think that's pretty much all we'll really touch on the topic. We don't really want to dwell on it. Obviously, our thoughts and prayers go out to not only Kobe and Kobe's family and all that were on board, but to everyone involved, really. The baseball coach that was included, his family, the helicopter pilot, everybody that's involved is equally important in this tragic loss of life.
Yeah.
So, again, Jake said we here at BRBL, want to remember Kobe for the legend that he is. But I think now it's time for us to move on from this topic, as there's not much more we, as the three of us, can add. His legacy said. So, Jake, why don't you want to start talking about the White Sox?
Yeah. So, originally, when we wrote up these notes, Obviously, the Kobe news hadn't broke yet, but our first topic of the week is going to be baseball related. And more into that, it's going to be the analysis of the 2020 Chicago White Sox team, their playoff chances, what they have in their minor league roster that could improve their team, and what kind of team they have, I guess, right now, what they've had last year, what they've had for the last few years in terms of production of runs, hits, everything, pitching. The first thing I'd like to talk about in relation to that is the continued pace of Tim Anderson. So I myself am involved in a fantasy baseball league, a dynasty league. I happen to own Tim Anderson, and he won the batting title last year. Will Tim Anderson, a lot of people talk about Tim Anderson as this sort of breakout player. He had a breakout year last year. He won the batting title. He steals bases. He bats in runs. The fantasy value of Tim Anderson last year was very high. I myself knew, because he took me to places in the playoffs and the regular season that I never thought I'd get if I didn't have someone to stick in. Will he get that kind of production next year, the year coming up? I'm not sure. Another piece of the puzzle is sort of the prospects that the Chicago White Sox have, those being Nick Madrigal, a second baseman, first base Andrew Vaughn. Lewis Robert was revealed to be, I think, number 3 or 4 on the MLB pipeline, released this past Friday as of the recording. They've got a great farm team in Chicago, and the division, honestly, with the degradation of the teams around them, the Indians being one of them, I think the White Sox have an actual chance of doing something this year. I think they have an actual chance of being more than, a team that should build for next year, a team that should build for, sometime in the future. Like, what do you think, guys? Like, this team is actually producing some sort of hope this year. A Chicago White Sox fan might say that this is their year, although I'd say that's a bit premature, because
it's a little preemptive.
Players like Nick Madrigal, Andrew Vaughn, Lewis Robert have to come up and kind of establish themselves. But I'd say next year, the year after, they're definitely a playoff contender. I wouldn't say they're a World Series contender. I don't know if, like I said earlier, if Tim Anderson can keep up the production that he has last year, then they might actually be able to win something. But I don't know. What do you guys think?
I think they're the hottest thing in Chicago right now, but
yeah.
Looking at the rest of the sports, with the Bears and the Blackhawks, that's not exactly a hard feat to get at.
The Bulls are pretty under the weather.
Yeah, the Bulls too, but I don't know. I see a lot of promise. They've done a lot of good things. Mm-hmm. They're starting to, management's starting to realize that they can't just sit on their butts and do nothing, that they've got to start making moves, and from what I can tell, that's what they're doing. And if it pans out to be successful, I think this is a scary team.
Yeah, no, I think the acquisitions, and the additions that they made in the offseason that we just had are very impressive.
Yeah,
they're something that I would never imagine the White Sox have been able to pull off. But Tim Anderson, special.
Yeah.
I don't think he's going to put up the batting numbers he did last year, but he's still going to be able to steal bases. He's still going to be able
That's one of the best things about him.
Oh, 100%.
It's hard to get a player in the MLB that can steal bases on a consistent level.
To have someone on your team that can consistently steal bases is incredibly effective. One thing that I would say about the White Sox is that they're in the same division as the Indians.
Mm-hmm.
They're in the same division as the Twins. They got Donaldson.
Yes.
They're looking a little better.
Yes.
You're looking at the Indians, who still have Lindor, and they still have guys that can hit the ball. It's a relatively tough division. I mean, the Royals are the Royals, but
it's a winnable division.
It's a winnable division. I just think coming out of that division is going to be more difficult than if they were in another. I'm just saying that.
Oh, well, of course.
Yeah.
You talked about the acquisitions that Chicago made to become the team that they are now in the off season. We're about 2 weeks until pitchers and catchers report But the offseason so far for the White Sox has been Encarnacion, Grandal, Keuchel. These are big names that they're bringing to Chicago. These are big names that are going to produce a lot of different points that they might not have seen before. I mean, you're seeing catching, power hitting in someone like Encarnacion. The pitching of Keuchel, well, is Keuchel the pitcher that everybody wanted him to be last year? Well, we'll see this year with a full season under his belt to kind of gauge how good Keuchel really is. I think Keuchel was kind of shafted last year. He almost shafted himself holding it for a better offer from some team. But Keuchel this year, in my mind, should have way better numbers than he did last year. I mean, you throw anybody in halfway through the season, whether they're training themselves or not, they're not going to be as good as they should be.
I think the White Sox have the potential to be absolutely special. We are genuinely, with a team that's made up with so many new players, we're going to have to wait until the season starts. They get on a roll, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, they most definitely have the potential to be really, really good.
Only thing I question is, will we see regular season Edwin Encarnacion, or will we see postseason Yankees Edwin Encarnacion? Because postseason Double E was a eyesore. And if he continues with that, and, you know, he's getting old, he's hitting the end of his career.
Postseason Yankees Encarnacion was coming back from an injury at that time, I believe. So I will give a little bit of a pass to him there, but I don't know.
He's getting up there.
He is getting up there, but he's still the piece that they tried to buy. He's still that power hitter that can hit clutch home runs when it matters. And I think that's what they're expecting of him, and I think that's what they're going to get. Talking about acquisitions further, the Chicago White Sox are in a bit of a weird situation at second base, because I told you guys earlier that they have a prospect named Nick Madrigal. And if nobody knows what the name Nick Madrigal means, well, you're going to find out in a short amount of time what exactly that means. He's a base stealer. He struck out 16 times the whole season last season in AAA baseball, I believe. I think he's in AAA. He's going to be a great asset for the White Sox. At second base, though, what is his path to the majors going to be like? I know right now they have Larry Garcia. He's been there since 2013. He's had 3 good years and 3 bad years pretty much with the White Sox. He's had 3 great years and 3 not so great years, I guess. The past 3 years, Larry Garcia has been great in Chicago, but really when you look at his numbers, he's a .256 career hitter. So do they get someone like Nick Madrigal who can field, doesn't strike out, steals bases, young gun? Do they commit to the youth movement? Or do they kind of play him every second game, kind of give him some field time, put him down, put him back up in the majors, and give Garcia kind of command of the position until they see that Garcia isn't really the best fit for the position anymore? Like,
it's not going to get any better staying down in AAA.
Because I was looking on my the source I use for my fantasy baseball league, and the actual service that I use for my fantasy baseball league that I'm in is Fantrax. And as of right now, Nick Madrigal's projected numbers are like a .307 batting average, 117 base hits. If those numbers are true, .307 batting average and 117 base hits from that, they think he might steal around 15 bases or so. That's crazy. If they're projecting that for a rookie to come up and play like a Bo Bichette did last year at the end of the last season, and what Bo Bichette might do this year in Toronto, I think that's crazy. And Nick Madrigal is definitely a target that you should watch out for in your own fantasy leagues, because he's going to be dangerous. He's going to get those stolen bases. Like, stolen bases is a coveted category in fantasy sports that just, you know, it can't really be produced on a mass level with most of the players in the MLB. So the time that you find someone like Nick Madrigal, or like I mentioned earlier, a Tim Anderson that can get those stolen bases on a semi-regular basis, you're in the money. Another prospect I was thinking of talking about is Michael Kopech. Michael Kopech was a former highly touted pitching prospect for the Chicago White Sox, but unfortunately, Kopech got injured. I'm pretty sure he had Tommy John surgery, something to that extent. And he's coming back. His rehab, it looks good. He's coming back soon. Hopefully he makes spring training this season. Hopefully he gets some pitching time in this coming 2020 MLB season. Will he be the same highly touted prospect that he once was? I'm not sure. But regardless, in Chicago, you've got Lucas Giolito. You've got not stellar pitching there already. I think Michael Kopech, regardless of what he is, after rehab will still be a great pitcher, but probably not to the level that we've seen him broadcasted at before. He was supposed to be, a top 10 prospect. Maybe he might now be a top 30 prospect. Pitching prospects are also one of the hardest to kind of gauge. I know I own Casey Mize in my own fantasy baseball league this year too. But even with Casey Mize being the 7th ranked prospect by the MLB pipeline that came out this last Friday, I don't really feel confident in Casey Mize in Detroit. Even if Casey Mize was somewhere like the Yankees, you just can't bet on pitching prospects
that high. So it's kind of sketchy.
It's kind of sketchy. You're right. Like, I was trying to find the words for it, but pitching prospects are sketchy. You don't know, are they going to get an injury? Have they had their Tommy John surgery in the minors yet? Because I almost look for guys now that have already had their Tommy John surgery so they don't have to go through it when they get to the majors. It's a huge inconvenience to have a pitcher go through Tommy John surgery when you own them in fantasy, when they've made it to the big leagues. It sucks. It really sucks because they're at a service for like a year and a half, pretty much?
Yeah, pretty much.
It's so hit or miss. Like, most baseball prospects you can be pretty sure on, like, your fielders, but, like, pitchers, you're either on the ball, you find a diamond in the rough, or you've crapped your pants. And there's no in between. Like, there's no, like, oh, he's, not bad. It's normally you either put a lot in and he sucks, you put a lot in and he made it, or you put a little in and he somehow becomes a star.
Yeah. So, in regards to Kopech, for fantasy owners this year, I'd try to acquire him. I really would. I think right now, Kopech's window of buy low for high value in the future is closing very quickly, because once he comes back from that rehab, he's going to be active. He's going to be working towards getting to the majors. He's going to be something that could be great again. But right now, when he's in such a gray area, if you want to take that gamble and you want to buy low on this guy, it could really pay off. And I think he's going to be, one of these guys that could just surprise you. It's going to happen with Honeywell too, Brent Honeywell Jr. He has his Tommy John surgery, and then he gets a bone spur, or he gets I think he broke his arm or something, actually, after his Tommy John surgery, and he's in rehab right now. So it's going to be interesting to see the both of them collectively, honestly, try and come back from their collective rehab, rehab struggles, and see if they can actually make something of themselves, because they both were highly touted pitching prospects. And like I said before, pitching prospects are risky enough to gamble on as it is, and with these two, it's even riskier, you might say, but their previous projected rankings as prospects should be great indicators of when to buy low. And I think Kopech, and like I said, Honeywell too, if you want to add them in there, are great prospects to buy low in your fantasy leagues, because I think they can just blow you out of the water and surprise you, potentially. I guess that's really all I wanted to talk about the White Sox. I just wanted to talk about, for a few seconds, the hype of MLB spring training. I'm excited. that the baseball season for me never ends. I think I like baseball more than any other sport. I think it's kind of obvious because I love talking about it so much. But the hype of MLB spring training is just like no other. You know, like I said earlier, 2 weeks until catchers and pitchers report. I'm just excited to see the Yankees play these spring league games. Like, I don't know, what are you guys' thoughts on the spring training season? I just love seeing all these young players come out, try to make the team. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. And then, of course, in March, right around the corner, the start of the baseball season.
You know, it's a good thing for spring training start. Like, it's great to start, but I am happy that they don't televise the spring training games because I'm just going to relate this back to football, because if you've ever watched preseason football, a lot of the times you'd rather gouge your eyes out because it's like, yeah, it's essential. You need these prospects to make the teams, but like,
it's not good football or baseball.
It's not.
That's what he's saying.
It's not enjoyable to like. It's a great thing and it's needed, but it's not enjoyable to watch.
If
prospect
they were
games.
playing like 5 minutes down the road, I probably wouldn't go see the game myself. Maybe I'd be there to get the autograph from that kid that could be the next, Babe Ruth. Like, but I would not watch the actual game because it just sucks.
No, like the Grapefruit League is absolute garbage television. Like, there's no other way to put it. Like, I don't even think it's just a baseball thing. It's literally every sport.
Yeah.
Because in a sense, I mean, you have your team.
Nobody
right?
watches the NBA Summer League.
Oh my God! If you watch the NBA Summer League, you're a lunatic.
Yeah.
Unless there's like nothing else on TV and like you're watching RJ Barrett.
It's such garbage.
Yeah, but that's NFL preseason though, because your starters will play the fourth game for a quarter, or if you're like the guys like Aaron Rodgers, you don't touch the field in preseason. You don't waste your time with that.
No.
The amount of players like over the years we've seen get injured in preseason, like Jordy Nelson.
It's a waste of time for a lot of them.
I think my favorite thing about preseason sports is like, one guy, I'm just going to use the NFL. It works for any sport. One guy goes absolutely off, goes on an absolute tear, and one team goes, oh, geez, our quarterback's going to retire next year. Maybe we should make a trade for this guy. They trade away 2 valuable draft picks to get this absolute bum, this dumpster fire of a quarterback who just went off in the fourth quarter against the Lions' fifth-string guys. Yeah. And now he's throwing 3 picks in his debut, and he's never starting or touching the field ever again.
Do you mean Deshaun Kaiser? The Green Bay Packers and Ted Thompson were like, hey, we'll give you the safety that we're trying to convert into a corner named Demarius Randall for Deshaun Kaiser. Ted Thompson was like, okay. Demarius Randall is now a starting safety and a stud on the Browns defense. Deshaun Kaiser got cut and became the 4th-string quarterback on the Oakland Raiders.
Kaiser's an absolute bum. He's a literal perfect example for what I'm trying to say.
He's behind Nathan Peterman in the depth chart.
Yeah.
So,
Peterman.
Talking about spring training, I'd just like to kind of end off with a couple of players I'd like to see do well in spring training. I'd like to see them put up numbers in these shitty games that we're talking about. Whether they mean anything, these actual shitty numbers, I don't know. But I own a couple of these players, and I hate to say
Homer
that I own all these players. I love to talk about them, but really they're players that almost every fantasy baseball GM should be looking at. Whoever owns Christian Pash, I expect him to be called up to the Atlanta Braves this season. I just kind of want to see how he does in spring training. He's a highly touted prospect. Is he going to put up the numbers that are projected for this season? Maybe. I think he could. Another one, Kyle Lewis, last year put up great numbers.
He looks good.
Kyle Lewis,
filthy
on the Mariners. He's in the Mariners farm system.
Nothing will come of him, but he's just real good.
Yeah. Kyle Lewis wasn't even a highly drafted prospect in most fantasy leagues. He wasn't a high pick in the regular MLB draft, but last year he came up to the Mariners team and he hit 3 home run games back to back? That's crazy.
Oh, it was something.
If you can put up that kind of production this year, then my fantasy team is in good because, I don't really have a lot of power hitters on my team right now. But I'd implore other fantasy baseball GMs to look at Kyle Lewis a bit closer and maybe make a move, or if he's on the waivers in your league, pick him up. There's no harm in picking him up. So I'd like to toss it over right now to Nige, maybe to talk about football. I know Nige was he was getting into it. He was like, "Oh, the foot." I'm just going to relate it to football here for a second. Now you can finally talk about football. You can finally talk about it.
I know me and Greg are a little bummed about this. That the day after we recorded last Monday, so last Tuesday, they announced the setup for the 2020 draft. Well, I guess it's technically the 2021 draft. I don't know how they word it because it's.
Cares?
I guess no, it is 2020.
It's the next draft.
It's in Vegas. They're doing it in a fountain, with players being brought over by boat.
I'd just like to say that is the most Vegas shit I've ever heard of.
Listen.
We're going to have a draft. Oh, by the way, it's in a pool.
Pretty sure it's like...
There's a boat to get to the actual draft stage.
It's the most... I'm going to say... They've been pushing really hard the past few years to make the draft a marketable event, not just... okay, this is where we, watch it on TV. Like, they're trying to make it an event that you as a fan want to go to. As much as people might say, the boat's going to be time consuming, props to fucking Vegas. Like, want to give it a shot. You got a not brand new, you got a football team that kind of stunk last year. They weren't great. John Gruden had 3 first-round picks and dropped the ball on 2 of them. But, no, like, Vegas is trying to make the Raiders marketable. Not that they've ever been marketable unless you live in California or Ice Cube. But they've never been marketable, so props. I just think it's really interesting because I was reading an article today, actually, that Cleveland, who's hosting next year's draft, the 2021 draft, not a fan of it. Because they now are basically saying they are either left to do theirs on a boat, or now they're saying they're going to do it in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Still, what in the hell is Cleveland going to do to compete with Vegas, the Fountains of Bellagio?
But why do you
Who the hell wants to go to Ohio?
Why do you have to compete with Vegas? Oh, you're going to hate me, Nige.
I'm not.
But, no, you are. The Vegas Golden Knights. They come into the Hockey League. They have the tackiest... Pre-game shows out there. They have this flamboyant Golden Knight mascot that goes out to center ice and does this big charade.
I think
his name is Chance, you uncultured swine.
This is the biggest waste of money.
All right, hold up. I'm going to give you a 10-second warning to hear the words illegitimate and franchise come out of Jacob McDonald's mouth.
I'm not even going to say it because everybody knows they're an illegitimate franchise now.
You just said it.
I broke the news last week, and if anybody thinks otherwise, I'd like to see them, and I'd like to see them form a coherent argument on why they aren't.
Jacob, you just hate them because they're not the Quebec Nordiques.
Jacob, I
don't even like the Quebec Nordiques.
You say that. Oh wow! This big fountain of Bellagio. It's a big old waste of money, Jacob. That's what Vegas is.
That's
a big
what I'm saying.
Goddamn
what do you do?
Waste of
what
money.
do you do when you go to Vegas? You go to a casino and you let them own you.
You blow it.
That's what you do.
Unless you're like some famous YouTuber who drops 10,000 on black and miraculously wins every time.
Move off the draft. We'll have more news on that later because obviously we don't know full draft order, and I don't want to start speculating too early. But obviously this Sunday, Super Bowl. Who do you guys have?
Biggest day of the year.
Well, first, before we take our picks, honestly, and this is something I think this is one of the best Super Bowl matchups we've seen in recent years.
It has the potential to be an absolutely thrashing. Like, this game could blow people's minds. This could be one of the greatest Super Bowls ever.
Coaching wise, it's ridiculous. You have two of the best offensive minds to touch a football field right now with Andy Reid and Kyle Shanahan, which Kyle Shanahan was birthed out of the Andy Reid tree. And now the fact that Kyle Shanahan's a good coach when he's now getting his own coaching tree with Deshaun McVay, Matt LaFleur, and all those guys coming up from under his wing, who then came, it's just a long, convoluted order. But my pick right now is Kansas City. I know people are going to say, oh, the 49ers defense is good. When Drew Brees and Michael Thomas tore it up, it kind of showed me that I think There's no containing Patrick Mahomes. That is the best quarterback in the National Football League right now. And that's a hill I will die on. I don't think there's anybody as good as Patrick Mahomes. He can avoid pressure. He can make the ridiculous throws on the run, jumping in the air. He could probably throw a ball under his legs, doing a backflip to Tyreek Hill for a 99-yard bomb. I don't think it'll be a blowout. I think we're going to have a score in the 40s both ways, just like the Saints and Niners game earlier this year. But I do think Andy Reid wins his first ring and Patrick Mahomes cements himself as the best quarterback in the NFL.
Nigel pretty much took the argument that I was going to make there. I mean, I think Kansas City will come out on top. I mean, I said last week on our episode that I kind of want the 49ers to win because the 49ers are a great comeback story from last year. They're one of the 4 teams or something like that have come back from a 3 or less win season. Mm-hmm. Something to that effect. I forget the exact stat. But there is no loser here. If you get Kansas City, they come out, they win, I'm happy. If the 49ers, they come out, they win, I'm happy. I really don't care who wins because they're both deserving teams.
Yeah, I got to be honest, I generally don't care who wins either.
It's going to be a great football game.
It's going to be such a good game.
Such a good game to watch.
If I have to choose one team that I think's going to win, I'm going to say Kansas City because I don't think that they can contain Patrick Mahomes for long.
Yeah.
If San Francisco wins, and I think it's like 51-49% here, like this could literally go either way, it will be because the Kansas City run defense fails.
Which after it held Derrick Henry,
but when you look at Derrick Henry and you look at guys like the 49ers and their trio, Mostert, Breida, those, and if Tevin Coleman plays,
he's not playing. He did something that's
anyway,
him out.
That's going to hurt them. But very different styles. And I think they will be able to contain them. Jones will have a game. Frank Clark's going to have a game. If they play well, I do think that the Chiefs I don't want to say handedly win the game. I'm going to say like 2 scores. If they can really contain the run, because Garoppolo is not going to be able to throw the ball 30 times against Tyrann Mathieu.
That's what you guys both hit it on the head. Like you hit the nail right on the head. Patrick Mahomes is the quarterback that can make those throws. He can make those insane plays. And is Jimmy G going to be able to throw that much?
I don't think he can
those
keep
throws.
Up with them.
He can't keep up with that. So I really think that Kansas City will win. We're all taking Kansas City here. But even if San Francisco comes out, surprises me, Jimmy G does make those throws, the run defense on Kansas City does break down, and the 49ers get to them, I'm not even dissatisfied with that outcome, honestly.
Honestly, I do think, because again, Jimmy G's not a mobile quarterback. He's a lot like Tom Brady. I think when the Chiefs are probably going to get, because the 49ers offensive line hasn't been anything stellar this year. Jadeveon Clowney.
Haven't been bad though.
Jadeveon Clowney and the Seattle pass rush, which was almost, I think it might have been last in the league in sacks. You know, that first game where they won and that second game where they made it close and really messed up with a delay game on the one. Got in Jimmy G's face. When you get in Jimmy G's face, he starts throwing picks. He gets sloppy.
You don't want to mess up that jawline.
All I'm saying is he went 6 for 8 for 70 yards on the Packers. Yeah. You're not going to be able to do that against the Chiefs. Because the difference is your defense contained the Packers' offense. You're not containing the Chiefs' offense. But I think this is going to come down to is what I'm more exciting is this is going to be a coaching duel. This is going to be the who makes the last adaptation, to get you over the hump.
I just want Andy Reid to win, man. Like it's about time.
I want to see that man eat a cheeseburger with Lombardi Trophy in his hand. Can we all just talk about real quick that the whole Chiefs team showed up on Hawaiian church just to look like Andy Reid?
Yeah.
Like if that's not loving your coach,
the guy's a gun.
Oh, I've loved Andy Reid for years, but like. And now, after the Super Bowl, I'm going to talk just a little bit about some of the fantasy outlooks for the 2020 fantasy football season. There's a lot of big things. Phillip Rivers' statement came out today.
That's huge.
Is officially not a Charger. If he goes, there are 2 teams I think he's the largest candidate for. I think he'll either, if Tom Brady doesn't become a Colt, I think Phillip Rivers might. But I think his number 1 landing spot right now Tampa Bay. And if he becomes a Tampa Bay Buccaneer, you better draft Phillip Rivers because you're now playing with Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, O.J. Howard. His really only weapons were Keenan Allen. And Keenan Allen, good receiver, but he's more of a route runner. Mike Evans is a deep threat, physical. Chris Godwin's a great, get you Chris Godwin in open space. O.J. Howard is one of the quickest tight ends in the game. I think George Kittle and Evan Ingram and Travis Kelce are the only ones faster. Bruce Arians is a way better coach than Anthony Lynn and Ken Wisenhunt were. Though Rivers ages, these are all weapons that he can do, like his short throws like he used to do to Antonio Gates. I think Phillip Rivers, but I think your biggest, if Phillip Rivers becomes a Tampa Bay Buccaneer, after his lackluster season this year, you're going to be able to get O.J. Howard at a steal. I know Greg had him this year. It didn't really pan out because
dropped him week 2.
Well, Jameis Winston couldn't throw anything under 20 yards down the field, and that wasn't a 50-50 contested ball.
What do you think the future for Jameis Winston is if Phillip Rivers goes to Tampa? Do they give up on the Jameis Winston project? Because
Nigel's a huge Winston hater.
Well, because he hasn't developed out of college. He's talented. I'll give him talent.
He's got talent. He's got natural talent.
But
I think he can still be really good.
5 years into the league, and you still have what we called this. When they called it his Superman complex.
Yeah.
He feels the need like he has to prove that his talent can make these crazy throws instead of taking what's given to him and being a great quarterback.
Do you think that's a fixable thing, though? Because the Superman complex for a lot of players is something that's ingrained in them. But for some of them, it's fixable. If they get the right coach, if they get the right coordinator, they can build that out of them and make them into a great player.
After 5 years.
But after 5 years, you're right.
Especially with when you had Bruce Arians, the guy who revived Carson Wentz's career.
Yes.
Who coached Big Ben, Peyton Manning, Andrew Luck, Andrew Luck I still think would have been in Canton.
You're not going to get a much better coach.
No.
To get that.
If it wasn't for Jim Irsay, I think Andrew Luck would be in Canton, but that's just a whole other point. So I don't think Jameis Winston, I think he will get signed by a desperate team. If he doesn't stay with the Tampa Bay Bucks, I think he'll get signed by a brutally desperate team.
Chicago.
Honestly,
the Bears, Matt Nagy.
There's also another thing. Drew Brees' retirement decision is looming.
Don't think it's going to happen.
I don't think it's going to happen either.
I don't think he'll retire. If he comes back, he'd be smart to do a 1 year and retire. Because you've seen it the past 2 years. I still think Drew Brees is one of the best to ever do it. But his accuracy over 20 yards and the ability to throw the ball down the field has started to deteriorate.
Okay, but he's still a top 5 to 10 quarterback in the league now.
Oh, no.
I say he stays 2 years, and
I would sign a 2-year deal.
New Orleans makes the most out of those 2 years that they can.
Do they now trade up?
Yes.
Do you draft
get a defensive stud? You need it.
They need someone to complement Cam Jordan.
Because their window is closing. New Orleans' window is closing.
Yeah.
If they want a Drew Brees championship, it's closing.
They have the next 2 years a possibility, and that's a stretch.
I think this coming up year is the final year of this Drew Brees window. Because I think he's now 40. I think serious regression.
Well, he has the best receiver in the game.
But that's one receiver. Can't guard Mike is incredible, but you got to give someone else for Mike. That man can't do everything. Jared Cook was a great pickup.
Hand the ball off.
Yeah, but Alvin Kamara looked like... I know he was injured this year, but he did not look...
Hot take, trade Kamara for a defensive stud.
Yes, without Mark Ingram...
Because Latavius Murray can do it.
Yeah, Latavius Murray played great. Without Mark Ingram, Alvin Kamara looked like your run-of-the-mill average running back that you take in the third round.
You also got to re-sign Taysom Hill.
If Breeze has a serious regression... They just modify his game plan and say, hand the ball off, we'll make you throw like a quarter.
Yeah, like Tom Brady's been doing his whole career.
Yeah, literally. And I think they sign him for 2 years and they say, we're going to make you a champion before you retire. They give him a good deal for the 2 years that he's giving them. And I say we see a New Orleans championship potentially in the next 2 years because he's going to stay for 2 years.
The thing is with the Saints, they are they are championship contenders every single year, and they just always seem to fall short. Let's just pray to God they don't have to meet the Titans, the Vikings in the playoffs.
Another quarterback, I'm going to move to a team that's going to have some really big fantasy. And I'm a big backer up for this. If the Titans keep Ryan Tannehill, you best draft that man. I picked Ryan Tannehill up late in the year as well as A.J. Brown. A.J. Brown is the only wide receiver right now in talks for Offensive Rookie of the Year. I think it'll be either him or Josh Jacobs. Both had amazing seasons.
Josh Jacobs was on my team in fantasy, and that was the best pickup.
Definitely wasn't AB.
No. I drafted AB. I cried my eyes out after he got kicked from Patriots. But Josh Jacobs was one of the biggest fantasy point producers in my fucking team last year. There's no way that Josh Jacobs is not a top pick next year.
Well, in fantasy leagues. I rode Ryan Tannehill and AJ Brown because Russell Wilson fell off about week 9. I rode them to a near fantasy championship and a fantasy consolation blowout. Ryan Tannehill, when he came into the league, had the highest passer rating. For a guy that played 10 games without the playoffs, is in contention for NFL Comeback Player of the Year. If the Tennessee Titans are smart, they franchise tag him. They see how he plays. But I think he rides up in fantasy draft for quarterbacks, because I think your quarterbacks right now that you're gonna see taken early are Deshaun Watson, Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, because rushing yards are a big thing. And I think Ryan Tannehill is one of your top 10 quarterback drafts.
You think he has the same level of year next year that he did this year when he came in?
Yeah, because if the Titans are they're going to get Delaney Walker back, which was a big loss. You lose one of the better possession tight ends in the league. And I still think their best idea right now is their big draft thing should be outside linebacker, but on offense, if they can draft another stud wide receiver and get Corey Davis as your third. He's not a wide receiver too. AJ Brown's only going to get better. But another thing, when looking, you said one of the top fantasy picks. Next year, I was just brainstorming some of my fantasy picks for next year, and for me, my top 5 for next year is going to go Christian McCaffrey, because receptions are huge. Mm-hmm. The guy who had him in this league, there were days Christian McCaffrey go for 80 yards, which that's only 8 points, but because of his receptions, because we play PPR, which is points per reception, so every time you catch the ball, you get a point. He'd be at like 20. He averaged 20-something a game. I think your number 2 pick is Derrick Henry, because that's 1,000. He had 1,500 points. Sorry, no, 100, not 1,000. Sorry, absolutely. No, sorry, no, right. 1,500, not 50, 150 points. From just rushing.
He had a lot of points.
And then his
points.
And then his 16 rushing touchdowns, which is a lot of points. Third, Michael Thomas. 145. That in a PP. If you're not playing PPR,
I got him at 9. That was such a steal.
If you're not playing PPR, don't draft Michael Thomas that early. But most people play PPR. Draft Michael Thomas. Number 4, I would take Aaron Jones. This is a bit of a homer.
He will not. He's not top 5.
He's not
Nige.
going top 5.
Who else?
Not
okay,
even close, Nige. He's not going to have that year next year.
Who would you draft over Aaron Jones?
I would draft Saquon over Aaron Jones.
Okay, I'll give you Saquon. I'll give you Saquon.
Okay, I would draft Josh. Yeah, honestly,
Josh
I would
Jacobs.
draft Josh Jacobs.
Josh Jacobs.
Over Aaron Jones
less touchdowns, not a receiving back, doesn't get PPR. Less touchdowns, less yards.
I would draft Lamar Jackson over Aaron Jones.
Yes. Yeah, but Lamar Jackson, you don't draft quarterbacks that early.
Nice.
You're going to get Lamar Jackson in your with your third pick.
Then give me him. It doesn't matter that he's a quarterback, but he was dropping 30 points a week.
Yeah.
I don't give a shit if he's a quarterback or not.
He was.
But no. But
just because he's in a different position, I don't care.
When you draft quarterbacks, you don't draft as early because all quarterbacks at least get you close to 20 points a game. You have Lamar Jackson that's going to be your first quarterback gone, but I don't think he goes. At least into like the 20s.
No, I would literally take Josh Jacobs. Do you seriously think, homer take aside, that Aaron Jones is going to have the year that he had this year next year? No, I don't think he does.
Well, he's gonna get. Well, for the first 6 games, he was on.
He had a great year this year. I'm not taking that away from him.
I would never take that
But
away.
Josh Jacobs, as a rookie, put up damn good numbers, and
I'm
with
not
a
discrediting-
season under his belt. Given he was injured.
Yeah.
Josh Jacobs did get injured too.
You also look at for the first 6 weeks of the year, Aaron Jones was facing a 50% snap share with Jamal Williams. So now you take that out of the picture. Aaron Jones, 1,500 something scrimmage yards, tied for the most total touchdowns in the league with Christian McCaffrey. With a Packers, when he was the Packers' second leading receiver, I still think Aaron Jones he was running back number 3 in fantasy this year. I wouldn't take Josh Jacobs over him. I still think Josh Jacobs will have a phenomenal year, but I just don't believe in receiving yards Josh Jacobs will keep up. I would take Josh Jacobs as my 5th pick, though. I think he's the 5th. I know a lot of people are going to say I'm leaving out Dalvin Cook.
Yeah, I was just going to say.
And I will go off on why I don't think Dalvin Cook's a good pick. Dalvin Cook's been in the league for, this is going to be, I think, his 4th year. You want to know how many years he's played 16 games? 0. The most he's ever played in a single season is 14 games. He has played, I think, just over 50% of the games in his career. This was his first good season, and he still couldn't stay healthy for the whole thing. Mm-hmm. What are the odds he stays for another 14 games? What if he goes for another 7 games like he did his rookie year? What if he goes for another 10 or 12 he did the year after? There's just so many what-ifs with a guy that's been injured, with a running back, especially a running back, whose running back careers aren't, and once they start getting injury-prone, especially at young, it's known to follow them. I just can't see Dalvin Cook. Especially with, Alexander Mattison, his backup, playing really well when Dalvin Cook was injured. So they're not we need this guy to play through his injuries. I just can't see Dalvin Cook being a top 5 running back after, I know you're going to say, well, Aaron Jones, when given the ball the year before, averaged 5.5 yards per carry. So with Matt LaFleur's run-first style of offense, which is what led to the emergence of Derrick Henry, I do believe Aaron Jones will still be a top 5 talent. I take Josh Jacobs.
I still take Zeke over Aaron Jones.
Aaron Jones, I know what you're saying about
Mike
Aaron
McCarthy.
Jones.
Absolutely.
I know what you're saying about Aaron Jones, but Aaron Jones got 4 of his 16 touchdowns on Dallas.
Yeah.
If they were spread out throughout the year,
which a running back should get.
You got 4 touchdowns on Dallas, 2 touchdowns on Chicago. You bet up on Seattle. He got 2 touchdowns on Seattle.
But that's 19 before playoffs. Hit playoffs, you have 23.
Yes.
Nige, don't get me wrong. Aaron
No.
Jones,
But only 3 running backs. You're saying 1 per game, which a running back should get?
Probably.
Only 3 running backs in the National Football League get 16 or more touchdowns.
Yeah, okay, but not.
Who were they?
Yeah.
Derrick Henry, Aaron Jones, Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah, 2 of those are.
2 of those are your first 2 picks.
Exactly.
I would not. This is there are very few.
You had Saquon yourself. He was injured for a considerable length of the season this year.
But
it wasn't
what's
the same
scary with Saquon is the Giants' offensive line is a turntable. And a lot of the games I watched, it wasn't as much Saquon being injured. It was the time Saquon got the ball in his hand, he had a defensive tackle and a defensive end around his ankles.
Aaron Jones pops touchdowns on the 1-yard line after Rodgers gets him down the field. That's just how it goes.
The man had 1,000 rushing yards, Greg.
Yeah,
1,500
after he had
yards.
700 in the year before that.
Yeah, with 5.5
he's
yards.
He's 25, Nige, and he's just starting to play well.
But you can't do anything when you 5.5 yards. But he led the league in yards per carry and got 700 yards.
Not all I'm saying is there's no way that Aaron Jones is gonna have another year like he did this year.
I'm not saying he's gonna have another amazing year, but I still think he's better.
Well,
I think why is he top 5 pick?
I argue that if he even has a season that he had this year, that he might not be a top 5 pick, Nige.
I don't think Zeke's gonna have a better year
with Mike McCarthy as head coach running the ball.
Mike McCarthy.
Mike McCarthy was afraid to run the ball, but Mike
McCarthy's not calling your plays. You want to know who's calling your plays? The guy who let Dak Prescott go for near 5,000 yards. The guy who let Dak Prescott emerge as one of your top fantasy quarterbacks last year. So what are the odds that happens again? When Dak proved and Amari Cooper became one of the better receivers in the league. You have a young offensive coordinator who likes to throw the ball. I'm not saying there's a shot Aaron Jones doesn't go top 5, but for me, after a season like that,
I'll acknowledge it's a snub, but he didn't even make the Pro Bowl, Nige.
Yeah, but Alvin Kamara's 700 yards did.
If you take him top 5 in our fantasy
Good luck.
football league next year,
You
go
should
ahead.
take him, please.
I don't think I'm going to pick top 5.
No, but if you did,
Please take him.
If you had a top
please.
5 pick, would
Man,
you
I
take
got-
Aaron Jones?
I took Joe Mixon at 8 last year. I'm not doing that again. Yeah, but okay. But
I took Michael Thomas at 9.
Yeah, but Joe Mixon led the entire AFC in rushing last year. Who would have predicted him to die?
Yeah, who would have predicted Aaron Jones to get 16 touchdowns and 1,000 rushing yards? Point made.
Not gonna lie, I drafted Aaron Jones at 15th, knowing that guy would probably go off.
Like,
At 15 with the line he had, it was a good pick.
yes.
It was my third pick.
But not top 5.
Actually, no, he was technically my fourth pick because I got Keenan Allen. But
Aaron
still.
Jones had half as many touchdowns the year before as he did last year. He
Yeah.
had 8.
But he also
And
didn't.
half the year before that, he went
Yes.
4, 8, 16.
But he also didn't get handed the ball for 2 years.
Nigel, if the Packers have
Greg, you have to understand. He led the league in yards per carry. 5.5 yards per carry is nuts.
I'm aware of that.
So what if he gets handed the ball that year? Does he not? If that stat line continues, he produces.
Nigel, this happens all the time where guys who don't produce in like their first couple of years in the league have a breakout year, and then the next year defenses figure him out, and he's nothing.
Yeah, but the only defense that I won't even say figured it out really, because fucking San Fran put almost every offense they faced on blast was San Fran, and San Fran stopped. I don't think they'll be able to stop Patrick Mahomes, but they've stopped almost everything they faced.
I just feel big Packers homership. Smack me in the mouth.
I'm going with Homer, but I still think Aaron Jones will be at least top 7, if not top 5. I'm gonna run with
Take him top 5. I don't care.
I would invite you to take him top 5.
You know,
please
if
take him top 5.
I'm not taking him at
Jones
1
top
because
5.
if you don't take Christian McCaffrey at
well,
1,
Jesus, if you
quit.
took him at 1, I think you'd like.
Listen, Jake's over here laughing like he didn't draft Ezekiel Elliott at 2 over Christian McCaffrey.
You drafted
But who
Saquon
would-
over Christian McCaffrey.
Okay, but to be fair, the debate was.
But it was literally like.
Yeah, but everybody knew Christian McCaffrey's. He did what he did last year. This year, just had more catches. Everybody knew he was gonna go for a fucking.
The first 3
Two
picks
for-
last year were like C-Mac, Zeke.
I don't know if Zeke. Like, I know Saquon averaged as your number 1 pick, and fucking all of us were
Saquon
pissed
was
about
up there,
that.
but they rotated around, and to say that like, oh, me taking Zeke that early instead of C-Mac, like, it's all subjective knowledge. Like all those picks like last year, you can't say that
Would
Zeke
I have
was
taken
off the map.
Would
pick.
I have taken C-Mac over Zeke? Yes. But I also would have taken C-Mac over Saquon.
I almost did.
But you didn't.
No, Saquon. I think it averaged out Saquon was the number 1 pick, and it went to shit. Fantasy football is fucking luck. You got to bank on injuries. You got to bank on a lot of things going on. You got to bank on.
In the essence of time, I think we should probably move on to basketball and let Greg do his thing, so we have enough time to cover our debate topic for the week.
All right. So, well, I'm not going to mention the whole Kobe thing.
Yeah,
because
we
already went
did
over
cover
it.
that.
Yeah, we already went over it. But Zion Williamson finally made his rookie debut
Big
this
man
week. 3
coming
games.
into the
3
league.
games. Yeah, they dropped 2 of them, but they did pick up 1 win, and he's putting up some mighty numbers.
Me and Grobs, our player of the week, coming up thing, our prediction for the week, both of us wanted Zion to do well, and boy, did we get that right.
Yeah, so the guy put in 3 games. He debuted against the Spurs. 22 points, 7 boards, and 3 assists. That's mighty fine. Then he goes and he gets 15 points and 6 boards, and then he goes nuts against the Celtics last night. Gets 21 and 11, a double-double. And that's his 3rd game in the NBA. I guess one thing that I kind of wanted to ask you guys, or just not necessarily ask, but get your input in, is I certainly believe that Zion's going to live up to the hype. Please tell me you also think that.
Oh, my God. Okay, watching a big man like that, I know what you're going to say. They were uncontested threes, but watching a big man...
No, I don't care, man. I'm not going to say that.
Watching a big man go 4... And they weren't even corner threes. His threes were from the top, which is hard to make. When I watched him go 4 for 4 that night, I realized that, holy shit, this kid... If the Pelicans continue to play their chips right, that's going to be a scary basketball team in a few years.
Well, I can tell you one thing: the Pelicans are going to be a hell of a lot better than the Atlanta Hawks. like out of the Southern basketball teams, they've done their shit right, and the Hawks, they're in a downward spiral.
Okay,
but coming back to that, I think that Zion will live up to the hype. I mean, he's like the third heaviest player in the basketball.
Yeah, but he's the most explosive.
That's what I'm saying. He's that explosive at that weight. Like he is a truck.
Yeah.
He's a truck, and he puts up numbers that make you feel like, wow, okay, like this guy is real.
I followed this guy from, we're not even going to talk, when he was at Spartanburg Day School in South Carolina when he was in high school playing for the Spartans. I've been a day oneer. But but when you're looking at this guy, he has the physical capability. He has the mental capability. When watching this guy at Duke, with all the hype, all the criticism, all the doubt that he faced, he still played insanely well. And now to see this process into the NBA makes me feel so good for him, because this could have went so wrong so fast with his physical capabilities. I really do hope his knees heal up, and I hope they hold up, and I hope his ankles can withstand getting pounded on by 280 pounds 20 times a night. I think they do, and I think Zion goes on, and I'm going to make this, I think he's one of the all-time greats, because when you come into this league putting up the similar numbers that LeBron
I think
James
that's a
did,
bit premature. I
don't
mean,
think so.
I think it is. I think that
you
is
could
a bit
argue and say it's
premature.
premature, but
He's been in the league
It's
a week.
possible. Yeah, I'm already saying it. Listen, you guys can mark this right now on your calendars, where whatever the hell you mark things on. On the date January 27th, Greg Robinson has issued a decree that Zion Williamson
He's
will
issued
be.
an official decree.
People also said Jamarcus Russell was going to be the best quarterback.
Okay, but oh my God, look at Jamarcus Russell never put in a good game in the NFL. The kid's been in the league for a week, and he's put up 2.5.
Let's also look at people thought I think Zion will be good, but you're calling shots way too early for the greatest.
Yeah,
of
you
all.
know what? I never said greatest.
Well,
all
one
time.
of the all-time greats kind of shit.
Listen, when LeBron comes into the league when he did, and he plays like he did, and he leads that awful Cavs team in 2007 to the NBA championship, I think given the right pieces, Zion could do the same. I don't think the Pelicans are well coached. I don't think Alvin Gentry's the guy that's going to develop Zion and Lonzo, Brandon Ingram, those guys. I don't think he's the guy that gets it done. I think in the right system.
I think you're right. Yeah, I don't think they're being outcoached by every team that they play that has any high caliber talent at all.
It just
even if they picked up Pop, if Pop just got ejected from from San Antonio,
just banned from the state of Texas.
I'm like a coach like that could blow him up.
Oh yeah,
they could blow the whole team up. They could just do great things.
For him to score, he scored 17 points in a minute and 40 seconds.
Now, I will say this. I am a believer in Zion, but when they were playing the Spurs that night, those were uncontested threes. You cannot argue that the Spurs looked like they were in quicksand when they were trying to cover Zion.
That is fine. That's a fair argument to say.
Threes.
But to say that his style
he was hitting those threes though. Dude, I will say that.
His the only thing besides the physical, will he hold up, whatever. The only thing that any scout, coach, GM, league official, the only negative thing they've ever said about Zion Williamson is his inability to shoot the 3-point shot on a consistent basis. I'm not saying that in his first game when he goes 4 for 4 in 2 minutes that's it. Oh my God, he can shoot threes. Bang, bang, Ray Allen. No. But it shows signs that there's been progression.
Yeah,
because what else are you going to do with a knee injury but shoot? I think it's extremely impressive how Zion has brought his confidence and play style and implemented them in his NBA game at such a rapid pace. Because you look at most rookies.
Well, I think he got that from Duke.
100. Coach K? Yeah, absolutely.
That kind of mindset just bleeds.
It's what they preach.
From that school.
RJ Barrett, confident boy.
That's what I'm saying. like
Cam
I'm a Knicks
Reddish,
fan.
trash.
I don't even know which one I'd rather have. That was the whole debate last year when the Knicks got the second pick. Would you rather have Zion? Would you rather have RJ Barrett? I don't know. They come from the same school. They have that same sort of
They have
mentality.
the same everything. Duke's a brotherhood.
Yeah.
Only thing I do want to say is one rookie that's doing really well this year. I think Zion would probably have Rookie of the Year if he wasn't playing, but I think it's going to end up with Rookie of the Year is Ja Morant.
Jaws.
That's not even a question.
He's gone off this year.
Yeah.
Man, if that guy had made that layup, he would have assist of the year. If that guy had made that damn shot.
If Ja Morant made that dunk where he literally put his testicles in Kevin Love's face and absolutely destroyed and humiliated him on national television.
Posterized. I'm like, man.
He's just so good. I think
RJ started off the year well. He was the most consistent rookie because he was in blocks, he was in field goals, he was in threes. He was in all the categories, not necessarily at the top like Ja was in most of the offensive categories. But I still think Ja gets it.
I don't think it's a deep draft, but I think the top 3 are going to be very good and very special for a long time.
I do too. Yes.
That actually gets into another discussion that I wanted to have about Ja Morant in general. The halfway point of the NBA season is coming up, so I thought it'd be kind of fitting to give our opinions on the season award winners to this point. And I might as well start off with Rookie of the Year. Ja Morant, pound for pound, best rookie this year. If the season were to end today, who's your guys' MVP?
Probably Braun.
I really don't know.
I don't think it's Luka. The homer in me wanted to say James Harden, but James Harden.
I kind of want to say Luka though.
But I think I'm going Braun.
Okay, I understand the arguments for Luka. I understand the arguments for Braun. You can make a case for Harden. They just aren't winning. That's the issue.
Yeah, you could obviously you can make it for him last year.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody said that Harden should get MVP.
The guy's averaging
over Giannis.
36, 6,
He's
and 7.
crazy.
Harden's gonna get in the MVP. Everybody hates everybody that's good, but Harden's gonna be in the MVP topic every year.
Yeah.
But he's not gonna win
He's
it
never gonna
because
win
the
it.
Rockets. Well, he won it in 2018, so he's got one.
Yeah, I meant.
I don't know if he'll ever win it again because
But I
the
feel
Rockets
like
aren't going to get to the finals.
With Westbrook now, though, I feel like that almost helps his case for a weird reason because he was always almost alone in Houston.
But he's putting up numbers with another guy who's a ball hog and all the critiques that Russell Wilson.
You know what's kind of crazy?
No, Russell Wilson. Westbrook. Triple-double man.
This week is Conor McGregor. This week it's jeez. Anyway,
Decaf Metcalf over here.
Booger McFarland. I'm coming for an ESPN job, mispronouncing everything.
Tony Romo already got it. Anyway, you know who? This is crazy to even think about. But who's flying very far under the radar?
Don't tell me this is
Marcus
MVP.
Morris.
Is Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Okay, but you could give Giannis MVP.
You know why? The Bucks are 40-6.
Because every time
40-6, and he's averaging 30 points, 12 rebounds, and 6 assists.
See, I feel like
When
this
this
is the
man-
year that he proves everybody that he earns it.
He's consistent.
He's consistent.
This man is Milwaukee's finest playing right now. And this man also, last time they played the Lakers, took out his penis and slapped LeBron in the face with it.
Jesus
He took LeBron's crown, put it on his head,
so graphic.
and said,
Nigel was thinking about that in his head. He's like, yeah, this is good to say.
and
on
said,
radio.
Giannis
I
took...
was thinking about that one for like 5 minutes. He's like, what can I say?
More like 5
that's-
days last night.
to be fair, I've been saying this for a while. The Lakers are going to get. I think the Bucks might make the finals this year. The Bucks, Giannis is nuts.
I don't know who stops them in the East.
I don't know who. No one like if
No one.
LeBron. And,
Nobody's competent
they
enough
could.
to
The
stop
Lakers,
him in
who
the East.
are like one of the better teams, even in the they couldn't stop Giannis. I don't think anything touches them.
Raptors are second place in the Eastern Conference right now.
That's pretty sick. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, but they're not.
They're not going to beat the Bucks, but let's
No.
just appreciate
Listen,
that.
I love that they got to the
Appreciate
finals and
that.
won, but they were a Kawhi buzzer beater away from not even making it to play the Bucks.
But this just builds almost to my point last week that I think Giannis is going to move. I don't think he's going to stay in Milwaukee because I think that his MVP
If he was playing for
status,
if he was playing for the Knicks right now, he would win MVP 100%.
yeah. Oh, of course he would because
yeah.
the Knicks suck. They suck trash. They fucking suck trash. But if you
Suck
look
on
at
that trash bag.
Giannis last year, this year, if he wins MVP again this year, Giannis has the MVP status to be like, okay, I don't need the Bucks. I'm going to sign wherever I want.
He's always been very Giannis doesn't seem like a selfish guy. Like, I'm gonna go. Like, he's very proud to be with Milwaukee.
But you don't have to be selfish to say I want to play with some other greats. I want to play with, or I want to take another team and build it up from the ground.
As long as this man doesn't pull a KD, who is the biggest snake in
I don't
NBA
think
history.
he will pull a KD.
I just don't. I don't think until they give Giannis a reason to leave, I don't think he will. Because that franchise, they're both like the Bucks love him. Milwaukee loves that man.
Well, yeah. What else do they have? I mean, the Packers.
And the Brewers made the playoffs this year.
Oh, okay, but
Wisconsin sports are doing
when
well
have
right
the
now.
Bucks been relevant?
Now.
Until he came.
Been a damn
Yeah, that
long
was-
time.
Oh, I'm not talking when Kareem was there.
I'm gonna-
not talking when Ray Allen
the Bucks
was
will
there.
give Giannis the key to the city to stay in Milwaukee
For a
but,
year, one more year,
like,
1-1.
anything. If you
If
stay
this
for
man
like
stays
30
in
more
no.
days, we'll give
But
you
if
like
this man,
everything
if
we
he
have.
stays in Milwaukee, he will get paid the max.
Yeah.
Obviously, but it's his.
Oh, he'll get paid a super max. You
it's,
joking?
It's ultimately his decision, and
He gets
like
paid a
I
super
said,
max wherever he goes.
especially if they don't win a championship this year, he's going to be like, if there are other greats in the NBA, and I go to a team that can pay for both me and another great player to win a championship, why would I not take that opportunity? Yeah. Like, it's lonely out here in Milwaukee.
Yeah, well, the NBA has a salary cap, but it doesn't.
No.
That salary cap's so goddamn
who could
high.
who could afford Giannis Antetokounmpo? The Golden State Warriors.
If he goes there and they have Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Giannis, I will.
That'd be the most
Guaranteed.
sickening thing.
Listen, watching the Warriors
Guaranteed
fall
championship.
was one of the best things I've seen in sports in years. And I swear to fuck, everybody's claiming that dynasty's over. I don't know. When Steph and Klay come back, I still think they'll be a solid basketball team.
They'll be like a 5th, 6th seed in the West. 3rd if they're lucky.
I still think they're
I think they're middle of the pack, like
Yeah.
4.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The All-Star starters were announced this week. So for the Eastern Conference, we had a backcourt, Trae Young and Kemba Walker. And the front court consists of Giannis, who's the team captain, Joel Embiid, and Pascal Siakam. And on the West, the backcourt was James Harden and Luka Doncic. And the front court was LeBron as their captain, Kawhi, and Anthony Davis.
I think the West win that.
No, it's by draft now. You didn't know that? Yeah.
Okay.
No, LeBron and Giannis, they sit down, they draft one by one.
Well, Team LeBron seems goddamn like a Team Giannis is good too.
they haven't
but-
picked yet.
Well, hold up. Is that not? Did you not just?
No, those are just the starters from the
Oh.
conferences. They get thrown into a player
sorry.
pool. They do a random thing, whoever gets first pick, and then they just
Well,
pick
sorry.
from
Then
the,
I thought you were like stating who was on whose
No,
team.
they just pick from the 8 guys.
Because I thought you somehow said that somehow.
It's picked by conference. That the point that I was trying to make is, do you think any of those guys are undeserving? Not necessarily undeserving, but is there someone who is more deserving?
In the West, I don't. I think that West team is truly right now the best players in the West.
Right.
The East, I haven't really followed Siakam having a really good year.
Yes.
Okay.
But-
Because I haven't followed the Raptors that much.
I'm a big Raptors fan. I'm going to anti-Homer right now because I don't... Siakam was hurt. He missed about 10 games, 15 games in between that span. I think that Jimmy Butler deserves the All-Star starter nod over Pascal Siakam.
I'd tend to agree with that.
And actually, a take I will take in the West is... I know Anthony Davis is good, but
Yes,
Anthony
yes,
Davis has been
yes.
injured twice this year.
No, still. He's still the most dominant big man
Yeah.
in the Western Conference. And it's not even close.
It's just, but like, how many games has he missed? He's missed a good chunk of time.
He, right now, is he's the leading contender for Defensive Player of the Year.
With that time.
With that time missed.
That's fair.
And he's averaging 26 points.
Because
And, like 12 rebounds.
that's
I love Anthony Davis.
He's he's one of he's just
like-
so good.
my favorite players in the NBA. Giannis, RJ Barrett, Anthony Davis, probably Kristaps Porzingis. That is blind loyalty to my former Kristaps affection when he was on the Knicks.
Were you one of those bums that booed him when he got drafted 4th overall?
No.
I think
I was.
my two have to be Giannis and Harden.
Pascal is definitely one of my top 2 players. I just genuinely don't think he deserves it over Jimmy Butler.
Butler's had a really good year.
Yeah, and you gotta love Luka, man. He's so good.
He's so good.
He's raw. Oh.
The All-Star break, like you said, is going to take us into our debate talk, which is, are All-Star games necessary? And my personal take on the issue is, just get rid of the goddamn games. Keep the skills competitions and make it like incentives. Like, make these players want to go to the skills comp, but none of these guys take these games serious.
No.
Let's put an example. Who in the hell in the middle of their season for the NBA and the NHL, let's go risk my season playing in a game that means nothing. At least for a time, baseball used to be for the 4-game stretch of the World Series. Now it's not.
How do you really feel about it, Nige?
I fucking hate them.
How do you really feel about it?
Like, the Pro Bowl is one of the most hunk of shit events I've ever witnessed.
I'll say this. I think that out of all of the major sports All-Star games, I think that, honestly, the NHL is probably one of the worst. Football is pretty bad. The Pro Bowl, it really sucks. But I tend to say, and this isn't just because I follow baseball a lot more close than other sports, at least now that I'm really invested in fantasy baseball, but I'd like to say that baseball is probably the best of them. With the home run derby, the skills competition in All-Star games is probably the best feature of it.
Yeah, I would argue that point.
And the NBA.
The NBA.
I know you're going to say the NBA, like
sick.
the dunk competition, the 3-point competition, like the skills competition aspect of the NHL All-Star game, way better than the actual All-Star game.
Oh,
for me,
100%.
if they got rid of the Pro Bowl and put the damn thing back in Hawaii, like what? Okay, here's what the Pro Bowl should be. It should be a skills competition in Hawaii, so the players get their paid incentives, a vacation. Because I'll admit, the Pro Bowl is hilarious. Like, the skills comp, the precision passing. It was fun watching Lamar Jackson get beat by 2 wide receivers.
That was awful.
Dodge. I think the NFL has, if they literally just made a dodgeball tournament for Pro Bowl players, I'd fly to it. I think watching a bunch of grown men play dodgeball is downright hilarious because none of them, on a football field, they all look coordinated, but you give them a field of grass and 10 dodgeballs, and they look like a bunch of 8th graders running around with their feet under their neck and falling. Oh, it's just hilarious. But I think this speaks for all games. Like, just get rid of the games. None of the players want to play them. There's no intensity. It's not fun to watch. It just sucks. Keep the skills comps. Get rid of the games.
I think the NBA game's all right.
But even that, like, any game that requires like physical, nobody's playing it serious because you don't want to get injured.
The MLB and the NBA game are actually decent to watch. The NHL really sucks because now they split them into divisions.
I think
it's not East-West.
I think the funniest thing about the NBA All-Star game is there's always one guy, and it's normally Russell Westbrook, that goes all
Triple
out.
double, man.
Gets 50
because
points, gets MVP, and
that's the only
good
recognition he could get because OKC wasn't doing him any favors.
No.
Like, Chris Paul has fallen off the map and died now that he's with OKC. That is where, like, once KD left, OKC became a franchise where you went to, like, die.
Yeah.
And that's why Westbrook got out.
Yeah.
But going back to the NHL, I really think that their switch from being an East-West thing to a divisional championship, divisional tournament, whatever you want to call it, is really bad for the viewer. Maybe it's not for the actual people that go to pay and watch these competitions live, like these games live, 3-on-3 hockey live, but I've never really watched one of these divisional tournaments for more than 20 minutes because you just don't feel the same when the Pacific's playing the Metro's playing the Atlantic's playing the Central. Like, just have 2 teams duke it out like every other All-Star game, really.
You know what I do think would make the All-Star game for hockey better? Make it a 3-on-3 tourney. I think that'd be a time.
Well, it is 3-on-3.
Is it?
Yeah,
but it's still like
it's the divisional thing that's screwing the whole flow of it up because there's so many more games that you have to watch in order to see who wins it.
I also think the NFL, if they were going to do a game, should just make it 7-on-7 flag football. They don't hit each other anyways.
No.
Just screw the O-linemen, screw running the ball. Let these games just be a show of
You swine. You're going to go against your brothers like that?
What do you mean?
Get rid of the O-lineman.
Listen, okay, but tell me right now that the O-linemen in the Pro Bowl do a lot.
Yeah,
they're not even allowed to blitz.
Pancakes.
They're not even allowed to blitz in the Pro Bowl, so they just gotta stand there and be like, "Okay, you can go by, but you can't hit the quarterback." Like, oh no.
No, the Pro Bowl sucks.
That's what I'm saying. Make it 7-on-7 flag football. Just make it skill position
Or just
guys.
don't do it.
That too. Just make it skills comp, or make these games. Stop trying to make them competitive, like in the sense that they're full of blame. Just make them fun.
Yeah.
Get rid of this trying to market it as another game. Just
the
make it fun.
MLBs is great because I think it's an actual game where like the players care about what the outcome is because it's competitive. It's not this divisional shit show that happens in the NHL. And I don't know, the MLB's skills comp kind of thing where they have the home run derby. They have the home run derby in place of a real skills comp.
I was gonna say that's fun, but like
it's fun, but a lot of people rag on it because it ruins a lot of the players that take part in it. It ruins their swing.
that's why a lot of players just don't do it.
They don't do it, but
the NBA.
But man,
That's why I love the Pro Bowl. Like
Vladdy Big Butt was swinging and he was hitting bombs last year. Like he. Oh my God, I expected it.
2 podcasts where he mentioned
Talking about Vladdy's ass.
is.
Like honestly though, he was determined to win that thing, and he should have because I forget
he got robbed.
He got robbed. Yeah,
who did win it?
Alonso.
yeah. It was Pete Alonso, and Vladdy hit like way more home runs than he needed to beat the lower seed. It should be the lower seed goes first because the higher seed should know how many home runs the lower seed can hit first.
Yeah.
Because then if he only has to hit
5 home runs.
if he only has to hit like 10 home runs, he doesn't have to hit 40 like Vladdy did and gassed himself.
Yeah.
Big Butt walking back and forth to the plate every time he had to go up. He gassed himself in the first home run derby
hippo
portion.
Madagascar too.
Yeah, like seriously.
Can we just say that? Can we just petition to change Vladimir Guerrero Jr.'s nickname to Vladdy
Big Butt. Big Butt.
All stated our opinion on the All-Star game.
We all don't like the All-Star formats as they exist.
Skills comps.
But skills comps, I'm down for skills
Oh yeah.
comps.
When the
Skills
NBA
comps are
All-Star
so fun
weekends,
to
I'm
watch.
gonna be binge watching the NBA All-Star stuff.
Yeah.
So I think for our final segment, like we did last week, we're gonna go to our players of the week now because I'm the only one of us who formally prepared.
No. I got mine.
I'm the only one with it on the note page.
Well,
Good, then
I
you're going
wrote
second.
mine on the note page.
Well-
So,
Then Jacob, you can go first.
well, my player of the week, even though I do not like the NHL All-Star game, I don't like the NHL All-Star weekend because there's no NHL games on, as with any All-Star weekend. But that being said, I watched a little bit of the skills competition this year. It was good. I liked the women's portion they added in this year. I wish
that
they
was
had
great.
played 3 periods instead of 2.
Yeah,
I think that was shafting them
pathetic, man.
at 10 minutes each. They should have played 3 full 10-minute periods at least if they weren't going to give them 20-minute periods. That being said, I digress. My player of the week is Matt Barzal. He broke the skating speed record. I honestly thought, because the female hockey player won it last year, did she not?
I think so.
Broke it. Like unofficially, she won, but they gave the title to Connor McDavid or someone probably because she's not an NHL player. But someone that came out of the woodwork and just kind of surprised me this year, Matt Barzal. He broke it, and I was like, wow, Matt Barzal can actually skate that fast. I've never actually watched Matt Barzal play that much because he's an Islander, and honestly, you never really watch that many games where the New York Islanders are playing. But when Matt Barzal breaks a record like that, you can't help but say good job, Matt Barzal. And that's who my player of the week is.
For a lot of you that I don't know how many of you follow the college football scene, but this is where my player is coming from. Last weekend was the Senior Bowl, which is basically players who don't get an invite to the NFL draft.
This is,
not
by
the NFL
the way,
draft.
This is the sketchiest player of the week I think I've heard. Like,
not the NFL draft, but the NFL. Well, some of them get invites to the combine, but the position I chose didn't. And why I chose this, because if anybody follows the NFL this year, the kicking scene this year was one of the most god-awful things I've ever seen. Adam Vinatieri, the greatest of all time. I think his leg was falling apart while trying to kick.
well, Adam Vinatieri's like
the Patriots,
Methuselah.
the Patriots signed like 8 different kickers. The Falcons cut Matt Bryant. Like the amount of the amount of games lost because guys were shanking kicks this year. So this is why. And I'm letting you know, punters and kickers do not get combine invites. So if you are a kicker that gets an invite to the Senior Bowl, that means you're good shit. So my player of the week is Tyler Bass, the kicker from Georgia Southern, who at the Senior Bowl went 6 for 6 with his longest from the 50-yard line. He went 4 for 4 on extra points, his 2 field goals. Kickers are a rarity in the NFL, and most Senior Bowl kickers actually work out because, if you're making it to the Senior Bowl, you're good shit. So my player of the week is a kicker that's hopefully going to go to a team that shit needs a goddamn kicker, Tampa Bay.
I mean, good on you, Tyler Bass, but not going to lie, this was the most off-the-map pick for player of the week.
Congrats, Tyler.
That's where I'm
Tyler
going,
Bass,
baby.
but I really hope you can make me a good Subway sandwich in 10 years.
Like,
Man,
seriously.
listen, I think most Senior Bowl kickers make it out, but besides that, so that's why I went with it. It's off the board, but
It's off the board. It's all right.
As a man who has been, a big Mason Crosby fan over the years, I do enjoy a really good kicker.
Silver Fox.
I will, yeah. That gray hair looks good on him.
Just for men.
I've been a big fan of like your good kickers, your Adam Vinatieri's, your Justin Tuckers. So for me, seeing a kicker like perform really well at the Senior Bowl and hopefully get a chance to translate that in the NFL, I'm going to pick him for my player of the week. Yeah. Also because the Senior Bowl was an awful game and not a lot of the players did too hot. It was pretty bad. Like, the score looked nice, but, like, the best running back went for 100 yards without a score.
My player of the week is, I know we really just shit on the NFL Pro Bowl for the past 5 minutes, but I'm going to give my player of the week to Russell Wilson, and that's because I just mad respect for giving his starting position to Drew Brees and the possibility of Drew's retirement. Also, mad respect for showing out in the skills comp.
Oh my God!
Yeah,
that passing thing was
filthy.
Russell
made
Wilson,
Darius Slay look foolish for one.
Yeah, Lamar Jackson's trademark of pretty good for a running back started to bite him in the ass when he got outperformed by 2 wide receivers. So shout out to Russell Wilson for bringing the balance back.
Yeah, and with Drew Brees potentially retiring and it's possible that he retires this offseason. Good respect. Shout out to Russell Wilson for doing that. That was really good. That was good stuff.
So I think that just about does it for this week. Next week's debate topic is to be determined, I guess.
Oh, the Super Bowl, baby.
I guess
it'll probably be some Super Bowl related.
The Super Bowl related, something like that. I know hockey's back on with the All-Star break done. So stay tuned for that. Follow our social media at BRBL Podcast on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Subscribe to the Backroom Beer League on the YouTube channel. And thanks for listening.